Hello and welcome to the Discover Virginia Beach podcast. I'm your host, Joseph Trahan, your tour guide to the Virginia Beach area. If this is your first time listening, I am so glad you found this show. Each week, I publish a new interview with locals ranging from musicians, government officials, CEOs, artists, and much more. And my aim is simple. It's to help you discover, define, and then go out and do exactly what you're looking for during your next vacation, relocation, or outing to the Virginia Beach area. And if you're looking to join in on the conversation, take part in monthly giveaways, and get your hands on my custom event calendars, head on over to Facebook and send me a friend request. That's Joseph Trahan. And check out my Facebook group of nearly 50,000 fans of the Virginia Beach area. Don't worry about writing anything down. The links for each episode, along with the Facebook groups, will be in the description below and also in the show notes. All right, here's the show. Today, we have a really special guest with us, helping us get outdoors a little bit more, even during the winter season. Today, we're joined by Matt Redford, owner of Chesapean Outdoors. Matt, welcome to the podcast.
Oh, thank you so much. It's a pleasure to be here.
Yeah, absolutely. And Matt, you've actually been a part of the Chesapean Outdoors, also known as Chesapeake and Virginia Beach area, for the past 27 years. Could you take us back to early life and how your passion for the environment and the outdoors really started off for you?
Yeah, sure. Growing up here, I grew up in Allenton, a little neighborhood on Lincoln Bay. And as a child, I was able to, we lived on the water and we were able to go out and crab and fish and explore the marshes and the waterways around that neighborhood and collect turtles and do all kinds of really cool stuff. So that's kind of where I began my journey with, really exploring nature and falling in love with, spending time outdoors. As I grew older, ended up going to college at Virginia Tech, studying environmental studies, and then eventually coming back to Virginia Beach. And from there, I ended up working at the Virginia Aquarium and getting involved in some of the dolphin research there. And then eventually that led me to opening my business, which was taking people out to kayak with dolphins in the ocean. So it's a long journey, but it's filled with lots of really cool stories.
Wow, what a really fun set of events. So take us back to Allentown, because not many people know Lincoln Bay is like probably one of the more exclusive waterways, or exclusive. It feels very nice, less touristy focused. Would you mind taking us back to that time, that era? We're talking, before cell phones for a lot of our listeners. What was it like? Sure. What might you typically find yourself getting into or exploring? And what type of wildlife would you likely see during that time?
So when my parents bought a lot there on the water and they started building, there wasn't a lot of development in and around the bay. There was a few neighborhoods, but it was basically all woods as far as you could see in different directions. We lived on Dairy Cove and kind of looking out from there over to I guess it was over by the Cavalier in that area. Really, it was all woods. So we would take canoes or boats or whatever we wanted to take out, and we would go to different sections of the cove or the bay, and you could go and explore and hike around. And of course we play, army soldiers and, do that kind of stuff as kids, as boys run around. But as far as, interacting with the wildlife, we'd see, in the evening hours, you'd see raccoons sort of feeding along the marsh edge, and blue herons and ospreys, of course. Lots of fish. We do a lot of fishing back there, a lot of crabbing. So, when I was a kid, we used to crab a lot. And back then, there's a lot of crabs you could catch. Off my dock, I could go and collect, a dozen crabs for dinner if I wanted to, in a very short period of time. So that was really cool. And I'm talking good sized jimmies, really large crabs, crabs. So.
That is so amazing of a picture to paint, because despite that not being it's not long ago when you were there and growing up, but just the amount of changes and how quickly they've happened throughout the Virginia Beach area That sounds like a different city, quite frankly, than what you might see today with, the oceanfront, the resort district, and everything with the from the military bases to town center. Matt, I'm curious for you. Whenever you, went off to school, obviously you were passionate enough about the environment, so much so that you studied that for your trade. How did how did that? How did you like come about doing that? Was there anything specific or about your journey to studying this specific field?
Sure. So when I was younger, my father, who's my greatest mentor and taught me a lot about everything in the world. We had a lot of things that one of the coolest things we did, we actually learned how to windsurf together. So when windsurfing was invented or kind of came online in the 80s, he and I got a couple windsurfers. He loved to sail. And so he's like, let's try this new thing and we'll learn together. So we did that. And that was really special for us. That was the time we got to go and kind of, learn this. And windsurfing was pretty difficult. It's kind of a hard thing to learn. It's not something you just pick up really easily. So it took us a while, but once we got the hang of it, then we spent a lot of time, doing it together. But we also, my dad, he supported a lot of conservation efforts. He gave money to various organizations. Of course, this was back in the time, my dad was a big fan of Jacques Cousteau and all of his exploits, filming all over the world with the Calypso and the Alcyon. And they actually had a big warehouse in Norfolk where they housed a lot of the equipment for a lot of their expeditions all over the world.
Really?
For many of the years. And so it was one of their main headquarters was in Norfolk, and they had an office there. And I volunteered because I admired Jacques Cousteau and all his family members and people that had worked there. And so I, just volunteered opening mail and sending letters and doing different things, helping around the warehouse clean up or whatever, just to kind of say I could work for the Cousteau Society, And I was like, man, one day I want to join the Cousteau Society. I want to be a member, I want to be a diver on the team or something, So that's kind of where it started. And, we loved his films and we loved a lot. My dad and I would love watching a lot of nature films, a lot of nature PBS channels. So that really kind of fostered my fascination with the, wanting to be a filmmaker or do something in the natural world or be involved somehow, shape or form, in some kind of environmental career, not so much as a scientist, but more of like a public relations field or an explorer or filmmaker or something like that.
Yeah, absolutely. More focusing on the creative side as opposed to the scientific theory side of things, right? Because those are very different channels of information, not for everybody, listening. So I really enjoy and appreciate you sharing that, Matt. I actually did not know that the Jacques Cousteau facility was ever housed in the Norfolk area. That's so fascinating. Are they still here, or is that something that's been kind of transitioned elsewhere?
Yeah, I think it transitioned elsewhere. They ended up, I think, closing that facility, selling off some of the equipment. Some of it was, older and defunct or whatever. But when Jacques passed away, his family members, the various family members continued his legacy in various ways. Jean-Michel, his son, took over a lot of his leadership role in terms of ocean exploration and doing a lot of filmmaking. And then some of the grandchildren got involved and started doing some of their own shows. And so I think each one kind of individually, they kind of split off and did different things in line with what their grandfather or father had created. But as far as that being a facility in use in Norfolk, it's not there anymore as far as I know.
Gotcha. Do you have any fond memories or projects that you were a part of there when the facility was housed in Norfolk?
I wish I could say I did something really exciting, but I didn't. I was kind of, just whatever they needed me to do that day, I volunteered and, I helped out mostly more dealing with the donation side of, what you're bringing in the money.
Sure.
And then you would write a response, a thank you letter or something like that. And we would, but the perk was I got to go, check out all the equipment. So every time I went there, they have all kinds of cool, like 4-tracks and trucks and Jeeps and hovercraft and boats and all this cool stuff they use for their explorations. and I would get to go and kind of check it out. I thought that was really neat. So
Oh, that's really cool. And nothing wrong with checking the mail and doing donations. You got to start somewhere, but
you got
if
to
you get
start
to be
somewhere.
exposed, you got to be exposed to the equipment. I mean, I can imagine that being really really exciting, especially for at that time in your life where that was all relatively new once you started studying the environmental impacts and such like that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so you get out of school, you decide to come back to the Virginia Beach area, which is always my favorite question to ask. Like, what for our guest who did come back, like what brought you back to the area, and of course, what got you to stick around and build your life and your business here?
Yeah, it's a great question. A lot of people ask that. I mean, Virginia Beach, in my opinion, is just an incredible place to live. I mean, it's centered right here on the East Coast in the Mid Atlantic. It has, Virginia is absolutely gorgeous state. It's got all four seasons. You've got the beautiful coastline here with Virginia Beach, and then down to Sandbridge and the Pungo, the rural area of the city. You've got all of the to the north. You've got Eastern Shore with all the Virginia Coast Reserve and all the islands up there. You have the Chesapeake Bay, which is the nation's largest estuary. Actually, in North America, it is, and with all the rivers, and then you have the Piedmont area. You got the rolling hills. You drive across the state up to the Blue Ridge Mountains and Allegheny Mountains and so forth. Just a gorgeous state, and so. Virginia Beach it's not a big metropolitan area. I'm not a big fan of giant cities. I don't like lots of traffic and lots of noise and stuff. So Virginia Beach it's a big city in terms of area, but it's not like a typical like metropolitan area. So I love that about it. And there's just so many things to do here, and everything's fairly convenient. If you want to go south or north, there's plenty of things to do to access that. And I just I grew up in Virginia Beach and doing all the fun things there were to do outside. And I love the ocean. I grew up surfing here and windsurfing and fishing and, pretty much anything and everything you could do with the ocean or the water. And so it wasn't hard to come back here. And, Virginia Beach, the cost of living is very reasonable here. You've got a pretty steady economy with the military presence it has, the tourism. Sure. My family was here. My parents were here. Some of my sisters were here. They kind of moved in and out of the area, but it wasn't a hard decision. I lived other places, but Virginia Beach has always been home, and I think it's an incredible place to raise a family, and that's why I decided to come back here and do that.
Absolutely, Matt. And that's where a lot of our listeners are looking. They're either considering, planning their next visit, their next relocation. And I appreciate you highlighting that too, because, there is something very special about this area that you don't get by looking at a map. Mm-hmm. I'm curious for you, when you think back to, those younger days out of the water, and then you, obviously we're going to talk about your business here in a moment. You're now out of the water pretty regularly. Do you notice a difference? I know like on land, buildings change, but relatively, nature kind of stays the same. Do you notice it staying the same on the waterways and, the different activities that you see when you're out on your explorations, or has it changed at all to you?
Well, you mean so when you say has it changed, you're talking about like the activity level or what I'm seeing or development, or what are you saying? You're talking about the quality?
I'd love to know about the feeling that you get too, because when you're in a familiar place, you kind of sense it as like, yes, this is different, but although it's still the same, does that make sense?
Yeah. Yeah. So actually that's okay. Now I understand. And can tie this into your last question. I really get to mention about living here as well. I mean, Virginia Beach is a coastal town. It's a beach town. So, the people here, and if you talk to people who live in cities like DC or other places, they'll tell you this, straight up. I mean, people here are just way more laid back. It's just, that's the vibe. It's a beach town, right? So from that perspective, I mean, the community it's just a wonderful community. And so there's some differences. Yeah, you notice, but I mean, that's one of the common things you'll hear people. So many of my friends come back to visit and they'll be like, man, it's still a tight-knit community. Like you can go away for 20, 30 years. I'll see a friend I haven't seen, and, he comes back in town. They're just like, it's just like old times. It's just really unique. And, as far as, if you go down to Chick's Oyster Bar, on the Lynn Haven River, it's bigger now. They've expanded it, but basically it's got the same vibe, the same feel. My wife and I always go to the original section of Chick's Oyster Bar and sit there And we've gone there a few times lately and had lunch. And when it's not that crowded, and man, it feels like nothing's changed. Like it's same as it was 30, 40 years ago.
Right.
So
I really appreciate you sharing that. That's so fascinating to hear, especially for someone who I haven't lived here super long, right? Lived here a couple of years, right? And so it's always fascinating to see just the way in which people view the community as things change, but the overall vibe and community still exist. It's really spectacular. You don't find that in a lot of places. Now, Matt, I would be remiss if I didn't talk about your business because you have an incredible business story. Would you mind walking us through the inception of Chesapean Outdoors and what inspired you to start this really adventure company?
yeah, thank you. So originally, when I finished college, I didn't really know what career path I was going to do. Was not really certain. I knew what my interest was in the environment, but I didn't really know exactly what direction to go. And I had moved back home and started working at the Virginia Aquarium as a volunteer. So I got hired as a volunteer, and they were just putting together the stranding program at the time. So I wanted to be a part of that, where they had the marine mammal, stranding program being implemented. And being a volunteer at the aquarium was probably my best way to kind of get my foot in the door there to be involved. And that's what I did. And then soon thereafter, a part-time position opened up as working in the aquarium itself. And I took a job there working like 35 hours a week behind the scenes, feeding the fish and cleaning the tanks and doing all that kind of stuff. And then got to know, all the staff there who are just phenomenal people. I still friends with a lot of them today. In fact, the two people that founded the marine mammal stranding program at the aquarium, Mark Swingle and Susan Barco, they just retired this past year after about 40 years of being involved in a lot of the dolphin research and turtle research and a lot of the rehabilitation of the mammals and sea turtles all these years, and putting that program on the map and raising the money to get the facilities and just everything they did. So that I was there around the infancy of all that and got to meet these wonderful people and help with, for a brief period, what they were doing. And then over time, as I eventually opened up Chesapean to do dolphin tours, those people, we would come across animals, turtles stranded in the pound nets and different situations where we got to work together and help on that front as well with the stranding program. And still to this day, we had several this year that we were involved with. But going back to the start of it all, I guess I had this amazing experience. I was surfing one day and I paddled out, and there was a bunch of dolphins, which is very common occurrence in Virginia Beach. And I had this really magical experience where I paddled with some dolphins on my longboard, just kind of paddling out. I paddled off a little bit further outside the break and paddled along the shoreline. This one pot of dolphins just wouldn't leave me alone. They just stayed with me forever. And I just kept paddling because they were literally like inches from me, in front of me, behind me, next to me. And they just seemed so like connected. We seemed connected on some level that I'd never experienced before. It's a very spiritual experience for me. And I thought to myself, man, it'd be so cool for other people to kind of have this kind of encounter. And, Rudy Tours and the aquarium were running dolphin tours and whale watching, that kind of thing. But nobody was doing anything where you could get kind of on their level and experience that thing that I was experiencing on a surfboard. And then a friend of mine came down like a month later, and he had some ocean kayaks, and we took him out sort of in the ocean and paddled around and caught some waves. And then some dolphins came by, and we paddled with them, and we realized, oh, like the light bulb went off, like, oh, this is how you do it. So then I was like, had the idea, like, let's get a fleet of kayaks and just take people out on the ocean to, see some dolphins. Like, that sounds cool. And so my friend came down from the New River. His name's Sean Hash. He's an icon, really, I think, in the outdoor industry. But he owns a company called Tangent Outfitters outside of Virginia Tech on the New River. And he came down to help me put together a little business plan. He and I had both gone to Virginia Tech together, and he was instrumental in helping ignite the fire and sort of get me, yeah, you can do this, and he helped me put the plan together. And I submitted it to my dad, and he helped us co-sign a loan. And before we knew it, we had a fleet of kayaks, a trailer, a van, and we had some insurance and some flyers, and we were off and running. So that's kind of how it started. Wow. And I really didn't do anything super, didn't really expect a whole lot out of it long term, other than just, this looks like something amazing, we should do it, just because it seemed incredible.
Who knew that it would become what it has today? Looking back, I mean, like you guys offer a really incredible service, and also something that's very memorable, as you mentioned before. You know, the inspiration was that surreal experience that you couldn't necessarily get on a boat tour. And for our listeners who may be a little bit more adventurous, not including myself, I'm happy to watch from the boat or from the shoreline. You know, to go out there and make that experience is a great service. For those looking to possibly book a tour with you or check out your services, Matt, would you mind walking us through what a normal day looks like, and of course, what a guest expectations might look like when they come out and book a tour with you at your facility?
Okay, sure. So, right now everything's gone to, I've been around forever. I'm a dinosaur, but basically everything's gone to online booking now. It's just so much, it's so easy to do that with apps and mobile friendly phones and all that. So everybody basically does the booking online. So we have a website. There's other means of booking with us. There's some other platforms like TripAdvisor, et cetera. But essentially, all the information you can read online. And then, of course, people can call us. It doesn't go to like somebody in a foreign country that doesn't know anything about what we do. If you call, you get me or a manager or somebody there that can answer all your questions. We get a lot of people that are hesitant about it or have questions like, we don't swim, or what's the youngest you can take out, the oldest, or, those types of questions. So we answer all those questions on the phone. Very customer service oriented. But yeah, they can call, and we've got multiple dolphin tours a day. Usually we have 3 a day, so 9:32 p.m. and then 5:30 or 6 p.m. for sunset hour. The tours are 2 hours long, and we use the ocean kayaks or perception. We have different models we use, but we use sit on top kayaks. So no experience is necessary. The boats are very stable, easy to use. And of course, we have the guides that go out with you. So that's the really key part about it. Our guides are very professional, well trained, and very knowledgeable about the area and the animals that you'll be seeing on the tour, and very attuned to really make sure people have a quality experience. And so we put a lot of emphasis on that. And we also offer other tours other than just the dolphin tours. We do tours of First Landing State Park on the interior waterways. And then we also have stand-up paddleboarding tours we do as well. We will do dolphin tours, although we have to kind of vet the people when they call us to do that tour, just to make sure that they can paddleboard, because kayaking is a lot easier than paddleboarding. So if you kayak, we can kayak in a little more difficult conditions or stronger currents. Paddleboarding is a little bit harder, so you have to make sure that people are able to do it. But we have some great flat water tours to kind of get them started, and then if they really like it, they can progress and maybe do a dolphin tour on the paddleboards. And then we do a lot of events for larger groups as well, and we have an adventure camp we do for children ages 6 to about 12 or 14. We do that weekly, every week in the summer, which is growing to be very popular, as popular as the dolphin tours now. So the camps are extremely popular.
Wow, that's really cool, especially the emphasis on, kind of where you were at your first time getting out on the water, being able to reciprocate that and share that experience with the next generation. I'm sure it's very rewarding for you. Matt, I understand you do a lot with the community as well. I'd love to know from you specifically, have there been any moments or experiences directly with the community that has really shaped or influenced the way in which you conduct your business?
Oh, wow. I think they all have. I mean, every time you do something and you give back to the community in some way, shape, or form through an experience, you feel that appreciation for the love, and you feel connected, and you feel a sense of pride and, wanting to do more. So, yeah, I mean, I've had so many things over the years. I've been involved with different charities, groups from, wounded warriors to autism groups to, all special needs, like handicapped folks, just a variety of people to come and do outdoor experiences with us that may not be able to do that normally under normal circumstances. And then we've held other events, different races and events to raise money awareness for a lot of the environmental conservation groups around the area here, like the Bay Foundation, Lynnhaven River Now, and so forth. There's a whole slew of them, but the one I'm on the board at We Are VB, which is a great organization. I just submitted a special use permit for the park next year, the state park, to do our event in October. It's called Bluegrass by the Bay. We'll have a bluegrass band and some great entertainment, some great food and beverages right there at the park to raise money for the organization. The organization is primarily focused on the high school students that are homeless or at risk, have needs, financial struggles there, helping them improve their quality of life. And so that's for all the Virginia Beach schools. It's called We Are VB.
Wow, incredible. Matt, thank you for your contribution to the community and, of course, for having been a part of this conversation. We've really enjoyed it. I know you have a lot of tours to get back to, and obviously office work. So I want to be respectful of your time. We have one more section for you. It's rapid fire. These questions are quick and fast. You can answer with as much or as little detail as you would like. Are you ready?
Okay.
All right. First question for you, Matt. Surfing or kayaking?
Surfing.
Favorite spot to visit here in the Virginia Beach area?
Cape Henry.
Earliest environmental conservation memory?
Earliest conservation memory. Wow. You said rapid fire. Wow. You got me on that one. Probably rescuing a baby turtle. Yeah.
Love it. One word to describe Chesapean Outdoors.
One word. One word. Passion? I don't know.
Passion. That's a good one. That's a hard one.
Yeah.
What is your most memorable wildlife encounter on land or on water?
Rescued a pilot whale off Dam Neck, and it was a live stranding, and got to participate in sort of rejuvenating the animal, and that was an incredible experience. That's a story in and of its own, but yeah.
Can we hear that story?
Yeah, sure. There was a call at the stranding team. I was working on a Saturday, and they said, "Hey, there's a whale that's washed up. It's alive." And so I went there with Mark, who was the director at the time, and we got down there. And some of the people at the base at Dam Neck were on the beach, and they were helping, kind of keep the animal off the shore, just right off, where the waves are crashing in. And when we got there, they were able to kind of push the whale back in the water, and he seemed to be swimming slowly, but seemed to be relatively healthy. There was no external wounds or anything that looked unusual. And so the whale started swimming kind of along the shore south towards Sandbridge. And once we got about 200 or 300 yards away from where everybody was, we got another call for another stranding. And so Mark left to go check on that stranding. He left me there, and he said, just watch the whale and make sure he doesn't, come ashore, because if he does, the weight of the animal, the gravity, being on land will just it's really hard for them at that point. They're going to labor breathing and just everything. They're cooked. It was very hot. So as soon as he leaves, of course, what's the whale do? It comes right in towards the beach. And so I met the whale partially about waist deep water and kept him from coming all the way in. And I had a pretty amazing experience where the whale is, using his echolocation, his sonar, and I put my hands on him and was looking basically directly into his eye as he's echolocating, and his whole body's shaking, and I could feel the vibration through my body, and had this really spiritual, amazing connection with this animal, and kept him basically along the shoreline for quite a distance. And a Navy SEAL was jogging down the beach doing a little workout run or whatever. And he was he saw what was happening. He's like, "Hey, can I assist?" And I said, "Sure." And so I'm just trying to keep the whale off here until my boss returns. So if he does strand, we can assess and figure out what's wrong with him, or, whatever. And sure enough, the whale, as this guy was out there with me, the whale started to swim stronger and stronger. His tail started moving up and down more, and he seemed to be sort of regaining his wits about him. He was getting stronger and kind of breathing easier and going up and down like this. So next thing you know, he starts swimming out to sea, and I'm swimming next to the whale, and the Navy SEAL grabbed hold of his dorsal and swim. We're just kind of going out to sea with this whale, and then he goes under, and the guy's like Aquaman, he disappears with the whale, and then he pops up, and the whale takes off, and he's like, "That's the most incredible thing I've ever experienced. I've been all over the world," and he's like, "That was incredible." So yeah, wow. That was pretty cool.
Absolutely. Matt, thank you for sharing that story. That's incredible. I mean, most people see a whale, at least once in their time in Virginia Beach, but being able to talk, connect, and also bring it to safety is definitely something we appreciate you doing.
It was awesome. It was really cool.
Love it. Last one for you. Favorite activity? Actually, no, let me do this one. What is your dream eco adventure destination? If you could go anywhere in the world, what would your dream destination be?
Wow. South Africa would be pretty cool for me. I'd love to surf Jeffreys Bay and then go on a wildlife safari after that. Maybe to go see some lions and some elephants.
Wonderful. Matt, thank you so much again. I really appreciate that. That sounds like a lot of fun. Have you been to South Africa before, or would
No,
this
I
be
haven't.
first? Okay.
It'd be first, yeah.
So
I
it'd
did
be
go to
all inclusive experience for you.
Yes. Yeah. It would be awesome.
Well, hopefully you can get there sooner rather than later. Matt, this has been a great conversation. We really appreciate it. Thank you for your time. Of course, want to give you roll out a virtual red carpet for you. Any special events, any final words, please, share that this time. The floor is all yours.
Sure. Well, I appreciate, Joe, you have me on the program. It's been a real honor. And, we'd like to mention, I'm super excited about two things. One, we're opening a new company in Florida, down the Gulf Coast at Amory Island, Bradenton. It's called Florida Blue Adventure. So we're embarking on that here in December, hopefully opening in December. And we're doing a lot of the similar type activities we're doing here in Virginia down in Florida. So we're real excited about that. And then I guess lastly, if people want to find us here in Virginia to do a dolphin tour or sign your children up for an adventure camp, you can find us at Chesapean.com, www.chesapean.com. And we'd love to, create some memories for you here in the future.
Absolutely. And all Matt's links will be down in the description below. Matt, thank you for your time. I was going to ask, being that we are at mile marker 0, any trips from Norfolk to Florida that you have in the works, or will they be separate?
No, I don't think so. That's kind of a long trip right there. I did paddle across the Chesapeake Bay Bridge tunnel one time, which was pretty awesome. But I think Florida's a little too far for me.
Absolutely. Absolutely. With that said, thank you all for listening to another episode of Discover Virginia Beach podcast. We hope you've enjoyed this conversation. Be sure to hit that like button or leave a review wherever you're listening to this podcast episode, as we greatly appreciate your feedback. And until next time, we hope you go out there and discover everything that Virginia Beach has to offer.